Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. We're into NFL Week 15. We're starting out with Thursday Night Football division game here. Atlanta's on the road in Tampa. Let's talk about it. I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. All right, so let's take a look at what we've seen from Pinnacle so far this week. After last week's games ended, it reopened at 5.5, dropped down to 4.5, which is pretty much where it's been sitting all week. We're up to 20K limits now. We're still sitting at 4.5. You take a look at Juice Reel. Check this out. So at 5, 5.5, 6, and 6.5, 89% of confirmed profitable bettors on the app. Remember, Juice Reel, you can't fake it. It's hooked up to your sportsbook. You can't manipulate your record. So 89% of confirmed profitable bettors are on the Atlanta side at 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5. But look what happens when you switch it to 4.5. 70% of profitable bettors on the app are actually taking the Bucks at 4.5. So it did come down to 4.5, but based on what we're seeing, I wouldn't be surprised to see it go back up to 5, 5.5. Now, 5's kind of a dead number, so it wouldn't be that significant of a movement. But yeah, that's where we're circling right now. All right, Falcons, Bucks, let's get into it. Both these teams coming off losses. Not sure which one is more embarrassing, to be honest. The Bucks lost a home game to the Saints. Falcons lost a home game to a Seattle team that's pretty good, but they got embarrassed 37-9. In that Saints game, the Bucks converted just 3 third downs the entire game. They converted 3 third downs the entire game. They were 5 for 20 on third and fourth down conversion attempts. So yeah, Bucks struggling to make plays when it counts there on third and fourth down. The Bucks have now lost 4 of their last 5 games. Their only win in that stretch was a 2017 win at home over Arizona. Now, to be fair to the Bucks, they've had some tough games. They played the Bills in Buffalo. They played the Rams in LA. If you look at their last 5, they played the Patriots too. They actually played them pretty tough. If you look at the Bucks' last 5, yeah, they're 1-4. The Saints loss is the only bad loss. I mean, they played kind of a tough schedule recently, so maybe we cut the Bucks a little bit of slack here. Meanwhile, on the Atlanta side, I'm not sure if we cut them some slack. They've now lost 7 of their last 8 games after starting the season 3-2. They started this year 3-2. They've lost 7 of their last 8. Last week in the Seattle game, the Falcons were 1 of 13 on third down conversions. 1 of 13. That loss to Seattle not only mathematically eliminated the Falcons from playoff consideration, so that 9th loss, they're mathematically out of it, but it also clinched the Falcons' 8th consecutive season below 500. 8 straight losing seasons for the Falcons. That is the longest stretch of losing seasons we've seen from Atlanta since the 1980s. So 8 straight losing seasons for the Falcons clinched. Certainly not a great record to break for the Falcons, 8 straight losing seasons. So like I said, that eliminated the Falcons' playoff hopes. The Bucks lost to the Saints. That put Tampa in a tie with Carolina. Both the Bucks and the Panthers play 3 division games out of their last 4, right? Because the Bucks and Panthers still have to play twice. So the last few weeks, it's going to be fireworks in this division. Obviously, it's not the strongest division. In fact, it's one of the weakest in the NFL. But in terms of entertainment value, this is going to be a great little finish here in the NFC South. So what do we think about this matchup? Well, since joining the Bucks, Baker Mayfield has actually had problems with this Falcons team. Since Baker joined the Bucks, the Falcons are actually 3-2 straight up, 3-2 against the spread against Tampa. And they've done it with multiple quarterbacks. Desmond Ridder started a couple of those. Kirk Cousins started a couple of those. And then Penix actually started the week 1 game. So during the stretch, the Bucks have had Baker at quarterback, but the Falcons have had 3 different starting quarterbacks, still 3-2 in their last 5 games against the Bucks. This is obviously a rematch from week 1 where I don't know how the Falcons didn't win this game. 23-20, the Bucks went on the road to Atlanta. I believe the Falcons missed a field goal. Yeah, because I think they cut Koo right after this. Pretty sure the Falcons had a field goal to tie it or win it. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, this is a rematch from week 1. Bucks go on the road to Atlanta. Well, I don't even know if it was an upset. I don't remember what the line was. I think it was a pick 'em, to be honest. But the Bucks beat Atlanta in Atlanta. So Do the Falcons get their revenge here? Let's start with the matchup between the Falcons offense against the Bucs defense. At first glance, you would think this is a pretty tough matchup for the Falcons, obviously with Penix out, with Drake London out. You look at the year-long numbers, Atlanta's 13th in success rate, 26th in EPA per play. The Bucs defense, 21st and 11th. Obviously, I mentioned the injuries. Still no Michael Penix. Kirk Cousins is going to be at quarterback. Drake London has been ruled out. There was speculation early in the week that he had a chance of coming back. He has been ruled out. Kyle Pitts is listed as questionable, but I believe he's going to play. I don't know that for a fact, but I think Kyle Pitts is going to play. But what I'm looking at on this graphic is the offensive line, because this Falcons team, since they got their full offensive line on the field, they've been running the ball. Both their guards missed time this year, Lindstrom and Bergeron. They're both back, and if you look at the last 5 games, we're finally seeing Bijan Robinson get it going on the ground. In their last 5 games, they're averaging 4.6 yards per carry, over 47% success rate per rush, 135 rush yards per game. And you might think, well, Kyle, they're playing the Bucs, though. Todd Bowles always has an elite run defense, and that's true. Todd Bowles usually does have a great run defense. In fact, his entire tenure there at Tampa Bay, other than that 1 year when they were really injured on defense, he's pretty much always had an elite run defense there. You look at the last 4 games, Tampa, not the strongest numbers against the run. Now, they're not just getting steamrolled or anything, but in their last 4 games, they're allowing over 4.4 yards per carry, over 42% success rate per rush. We saw the Cardinals running the ball on the Bucs in Tampa. We even saw the Saints running the ball a little bit. The Saints don't run the ball on anybody. We even saw the Saints running the ball a little bit. They weren't getting steamrolled. But the point I'm making is we've seen this elite Bucs run defense look not so elite in the last few weeks. And we're dealing with key injuries here on this Bucs defense. Looks like Tyke Smith, safety, not going to play. Dennis, the linebacker, not going to play. Cansey's been out basically all year. But those 2 guys, Smith and Dennis, that's 2 of the top 3 leading tacklers on the Bucs. So not only has Tampa Bay been struggling a little bit with the run uncharacteristically, but they're missing 2 of their top 3 tacklers in this game. I know Atlanta was unable to get the run going against the Bucs in the opener back in week 1. That was at home in the Dome as well. But if you take into consideration that the Falcons are running the ball much better right now than they were early in the season, and the Bucs run defense seems to be trending in the opposite direction with key injuries, I don't think it's crazy to say Atlanta's able to run the ball a bit in this game. Now, you might be thinking, well, Kyle, who cares? Kirk Cousins is at quarterback. And I suppose that's a fair concern. What's one thing Kirk Cousins can still do, though? So Kirk Cousins, as his career progressed and he became a veteran in the NFL, at the tail end of his tenure there at Minnesota and then last year with the Falcons, one thing he can still do is read a blitz package, get the ball out to the correct target. If you look at his numbers, even this year where he struggled, he still has a passer rating over 100 against the blitz. It's all Todd Bowles does is blitz. He's in the top 5 of blitz rate every single year, and we've seen it when Kirk Cousins plays Todd Bowles. Let's not forget what happened last year in the 2 Falcons-Bucs games when Kirk Cousins was the starting quarterback. He threw for over 500 yards in one of them. The Falcons went 2-0 against the Bucs this year. Kirk Cousins averaged over 392 passing yards per game, a passer rating over 130. Both times Kirk Cousins saw Todd Bowles' defense last year, he went off. He was essentially perfect in both those games. He had 8 touchdowns, 1 interception in those 2 games, and he beat Todd Bowles twice. Now, I don't want to just brush over the fact that Kirk Cousins doesn't look good. We can't just be like, it's a good matchup for Cousins. He's going to light the Bucs defense up. That's a little crazy. We can't ignore the fact that he hasn't looked good. In the last 3 games, since Penix went down, Kirk Cousins has started 3 games. He's got an 80.1 pass rating. It has not been pretty. And I want to be clear, just because I believe it's a good matchup for Cousins on paper does not mean I'm expecting Kirk Cousins to throw 500 yards again like he did last year, especially with no Drake London. I will say, though, I know it feels like years ago. It was just last season when he did that to Bowles, so it's not that far removed. All I'm saying here is I do think the Falcons are able to run the ball a little bit, and it's a good matchup for Kirk Cousins on paper. I do not think Kirk Cousins is going to go off or anything, but I do think Atlanta as a whole can play a decent offensive game here, even without Drake London. I like how that offensive line's healthy. Kirk Cousins should have run support. He should be able to work out a play action. He's quick, making reads against blitz packages. I think Atlanta could play a decent offensive game here. Now, on the other side of the ball, this is where we've got a really interesting matchup Based on the year-long numbers, you would think the edge goes to Atlanta's defense. 24th in success rate, 17th in EPA per play. That's the Falcons' defense. Bucs offense, 28th in success rate, 23rd in EPA per play. Been a real disappointing season for Tampa Bay offensively. And we'll start with Atlanta's defense. Let's give them some credit. Since they got healthy, since they got Diablo back at linebacker, they were struggling against the run earlier in the season, but since they got healthier, their last 4 games, 3.7 yards per carry allowed, 33.1% success rate per rush. Now, we do have to consider the opponents, Panthers, Saints, Jets, Seahawks, so they haven't exactly seen elite rushing attacks, but since they got healthier, this Falcons defense looks pretty strong against the run, and they're in pretty good shape health-wise. It looks like Jalen Walker and Onyemata, the two people in the two questionables on Atlanta's defensive front. It looks like both those guys are going to play. And on the Tampa side, all right, let's talk about the Bucs injury report on offense. So good news. It looks like Tristan Wirfs is going to play. I actually think he's even been taken off the injury report. So it looks like they're getting Wirfs back. I believe he only missed 1 game, though. So it's not like he's been out for a while. So it looks like they're getting Tristan Wirfs back. Bad news, Bredeson is out. They're starting left guard. And if you remember, that's when the Bucs started having some success on the ground, is when they finally got that offensive line healthy. It was Godecki, the right tackle, who was out. He came back. Bredeson was banged up. He came back. Tristan Wirfs was even banged up. He came back. It was finally when the Bucs got the offensive line together. That's where we saw the run game started to work. Now, before we get off this injury graphic here, we got to mention the wide receivers. Looks like Mike Evans has a realistic chance of playing in this game. Looks like Jalen McMillan has a realistic chance of playing in this game. Now, from what I'm reading, neither of those are confirmed. It seems like it's going to be 50-50. Certainly would help Baker Mayfield. Cade Otton looks like won't be playing in this game, though. So it looks like a couple of receiving weapons might be coming back for Baker, but huge loss on the offensive line. Now, I mentioned the Bucs running the ball. You look at their last 5 games, 4.7 yards per carry, over 143 rushing yards per game, 42.4% success rate per rush. After struggling to run the ball for pretty much the entire first 2 months of the season, the Bucs finally seem to have figured it out on the ground. And by the way, this was happening before Bucky Irving even came back. They started to figure the run out with Sean Tucker running the ball before Bucky Irving even came back. But it was when the offensive line got healthy. Now, with Bredeson out again, I'm not sure if they're able to run the ball against a Falcons defense that kind of seems to be surging against the run. So do I trust the Bucs to run the ball in this game? I'm not sure. Atlanta's defensive front, since they got healthier, has looked pretty strong. Now, where I think this Falcons defense is vulnerable, and I was talking about this last week before the Seattle game, if you remember, that's why I was considering taking Seattle there, is their secondary. In the last 7 games, 55.9% success rate per dropback, an average opponent pass rating over 104, 7.8 yards per pass attempt allowed. Seems like this Falcons secondary has gotten exposed in the second half of the season. So Baker Mayfield against a Falcons secondary that might not be very strong right now, possibly getting Mike Evans back with Godwin and Ibuka. So I could see how that's scary if you're an Atlanta fan. When it comes to Baker Mayfield, though, I mean, there's no other way to say this. He's not playing well. He's got a 72.7 pass rating over a 7-game sample. 7 games. We're not talking about 1 or 2 bad games. A 7-game sample. In his last 7 games, check this out. Cam Ward has considerably more efficient passing numbers in his last 7 games than Baker Mayfield does. There's no other way to say this. He's not playing well right now. And look, getting Mike Evans back would be huge, but does that magically fix all the problems Baker Mayfield's having right now? Check this out. You want to know what Atlanta does a lot of? Look, I mentioned their secondary is vulnerable, but one thing Atlanta does is blitz. They send the house. The Atlanta Falcons defense blitzes just as much, if not more, than any other defense in the NFL. Baker Mayfield's been terrible against the blitz so far this season. A 71.3 passer rating against the blitz. So, look, again, I think the Falcons secondary is vulnerable, but the way Baker Mayfield's playing right now, even getting the receivers back, does that magically fix all the other problems he's having so far this year? Remember, he's also dealing with an injury. We're not sure how healthy he is. There was a chance he wasn't even going to play. Was that last week against the Saints? That might have been the Cardinals. That was the Cardinals game where he was dealing with pain, but he's in pain right now. I don't think Baker Mayfield's 100%. So even though I don't trust the Falcons secondary, not sure if I trust Baker Mayfield either, which is why I'm on Atlanta here. I got plus 6.5. I originally said I made the game 4. So now that it's down to 4.5, it's about where I believe it should be.
My microphone cut out in the middle of the pick. So yeah, I got Falcons plus 6.5. I make the game 4. At 4.5, I would still lean towards the Atlanta side. It does seem like the sharp action is starting to come in on the Tampa Bay side, like we pointed out before. I would still lean Atlanta at plus 4.5. I kind of think it goes over, but actually it looks like under money's coming in. I don't really feel strongly about the total. I'm on the Falcons plus 6.5. Remember, what we're doing is we're trying to take a profitable position. We're not trying to predict the future. So if this number closes at 4.5, that means my plus 6.5 has roughly 56% chance of hitting. So at 4.5, it's closer to 50-50, which isn't profitable at minus 110. Remember. So I don't know if I would play it at 4.5, but my pick would still be the Falcons at plus 4.5.
Thanks for watching. Live shows at midnight Eastern time as always. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments, talking some college basketball and hopefully some NBA within the next couple of days, finally zeroing in on that. Yeah, love to see you there. Make sure you bet responsibly. See you tomorrow.